Hey, good evening. There we go. There we go. Back with the audio. Right. Apologies. Technical difficulties. It wouldn't be the OK Football Show without some technical difficulties. It's part of the furniture here. Right. So, right off the bat, that was a performance that we've needed for a very, very long time. That was the most... Well, I'm not going the whole we've got our Luton back, because right away we've been done so many times by this, haven't we? We have. But that was one of the most encouraging performances I have seen for a long time. And the main thing is carrying that performance into Cardiff away, because our home form and our away form just don't match up. They don't. Not at all. So I watched Luton Town 2, Bradford City 1. And it was a scoreline that really did flatter Bradford to some extent, because I felt for large amounts we played them off the park. However, we got a lot right. I think Bradford got a lot wrong. Firstly, I'll start talking about Bradford first. So when I looked at the team sheet and I saw their front three, and it wasn't the three that tore us to shreds at their place. Humphreys, who'd go on, he'd score, handball or whatever, Humphreys, Sarkovic and Poynton. Those three missing, I don't know what Bradford City were thinking, honestly, because those three destroyed us at their gaff earlier this season. Instead, they started with Paul Mullin leading the line, which, to be honest, my favourite moment of the afternoon. And there was some absolutely fantastic football on show throughout that 90 minutes. It was amazing. My favourite moment was when Paul Mullin got the ball past Mads Anderson and they started a foot race. And I kid you not, I would love it if that does the rounds on social media. It was, without a doubt, the slowest foot race I've ever seen in any professional sport. It was hilarious. Paul Mullin flicked the ball beyond. He couldn't catch it. The ball went straight through to Keeley. But Mads Anderson couldn't keep up with Paul Mullin. It was fantastic. And I was right in front of it. I was watching it dead on. It was brilliant. Right. So it's a very, very tough performance to pick out one standout player, but I will with Casey Palmer. His first game, he was quiet, but he gave us a glimpse of what he could do. In that game against, was it Huddersfield? I think it was Huddersfield, where he sort of took the ball and charged through and let fly from 20 yards out, or 30 yards out. And it was a great save from the keeper, whichever game that was. To be honest, all the away games have sort of like merged into one horrendous PTSD flashback in my mind. But he gave us a glimpse. And today, I think we saw Casey Palmer in full flow in this league, up to speed. I will say, I'm going to go through the lineup. It's a very bold move to play without a designated defensive midfielder. But I imagine, I'm not getting ahead of myself, I'm not going to say Casey Palmer is the second coming of Ricky Hill or Ross Barkley. But he showed moments, glimpses of what he can do. And honestly, out of all the loans we made, he's the one that doesn't have an option or an obligation. So I do hope that there is some possibility of bringing him here, because he's obviously a level above League One. And the fact that he was playing defensive midfield by himself, fair play. There are very few negatives to pick out from this game. So the lineup today, Keeley in goal, left back Joe Johnson, he's just going strength to strength. He is tremendous. He's made that left back position his own. The way he fills in, alongside whoever is playing the deep-lying midfielder role is absolutely tremendous. And he was vital. He was important in the first goal. His movement through the middle of the field was amazing. Then we had Mengi, Anderson. I think that was probably Anderson's best game for Luton Town. Notwithstanding that foot race with Paul Mullen, which was very amusing. Nigel Longwick playing right back. And then you had Palmer, the deepest of the midfielders. Then you had 4 midfielders ahead of him, which was Kajua, Richards absolutely tremendous as well, Morris and Clark. And then you had Devante Cole. And to be honest, look, playing up top by yourself, it's an absolute thankless task. But he was a willing runner. He held up the ball when he could. He did what Nahki Wells does, but he did it with a lot more physical implication. He was happy to mix it. Whereas Nahki Wells would just bounce off a defender, Devante Cole didn't bounce so much. He was sort of an immovable object, and that's just so much better. But anyway, good evening to everyone that's in the chat. So I see Lee Westwood says, one good performance will be rubbish for the next 5 games. You watch. That reverberates back to my first point. We can't all just go gung-ho and say, we got our Luton back, because this wasn't a Luton-esque performance. A Luton-esque performance that I've seen with Luton throughout my 30 years of watching. It's never been a team who have bossed possession and had more of the ball. I know that's the same as bossing possession, and passed liquid football. I mean, we did a little bit of that under John Still. That was just a ridiculous team, and Luke Guttridge was our engine. And obviously we did a little bit of that with Nathan Jones. But what I saw, Nathan Jones in that League 2 promotion season, but this was a different type of football. This was Jack Wilsh's football, and you can see where he's got his ideas through to the players, which is fine, but you got to mix physicality with the ability to boss a game. And providing we can do that 90 minutes in, out, every single game, then I genuinely believe we can be in with a shout of the playoffs. We closed the gap today, but this isn't just one game. You have to keep it going. And today, Kenilworth Road was probably the best we've heard it all season. That was probably the best performance we've seen since that Watford 3-0 win at Kenilworth Road back in 2004. 2004? No, 2024. Oh, God, it does feel that long, though. It does feel like over 20 years since a good, cohesive performance. And we've had so many false dawns. That's the thing. Just false dawn after false dawn after false dawn. I just hope this is not a false dawn. I hope the sun is actually coming up now on the playing side. Looking at the transfer window, and funnily enough, like, you look at the back of the program and you just see this is the first time where our squad list has not completely dwarfed the opposition squad list. Obviously, a lot of people have left, and that's fine. But it is very much a case of having players that want to be here, and I completely appreciate that. And that is a common thing that has been thrown around a lot. And that's fair, because one of the key aspects that what brought us up through the league was essentially all the players pulling in one direction. I didn't mean to reference the band One Direction, but it is very much a case of the players are here now until the end of the season. Yeah, some might be out of contracts to the end of the season, but we've essentially got to be united for one cause. Because right now, a lot of these players some players have 2 relegations in a row on their CV. A lot have 1 relegation on their CV. Wouldn't it be nice to have a promotion on your CV? Surely it would. Anyway, never mind. I see a lot of people saying key will be if we can sort the away form out. That is completely correct. So on to the game today. First goal was absolute thing of beauty. The one touch movement and passing. So Johnson onto Jake Richards, who really looks like a really tidy player, onto Kajua. No, the other way around. Anyway, Kajua plays it to Richards, and Richards, the technique on that shot, and again, this was right in front of me. It was straight, it had direction, it had power. And this is where we need to be playing him, in the middle of the park, where he can affect the game. It was a tremendous goal. It was absolutely tremendous. And Casey Palmer was involved in all aspects of this as well, winning the ball back for both the first and the second. He was involved in the engine room. Second goal, Casey Palmer again, he wins the ball in the half space on the wing, goes through. Clark plays the ball through. I think it was Richards plays the ball to Clark. Clark slides it through to Shaden Morris. Great dummy from Shaden Morris, sends their defender, I think it was Tilt, for a hot dog, and powers it in. Yes, took a little deflection. Fair play. Their goal, essentially, during the game, we could have had 4 or 5. Clark had a good shot that was saved. Their keeper, I felt, had a pretty decent game. Clark hit the bar. That was an absolutely brilliant move from him to create that space on, sort of in the half space in their area. Fair play. And I thought that their fans, they made a bit of noise as well, like especially when they were 2 down. I kind of died down at 2 down, but the atmosphere from our end, it was great. And more people singing. It was more noisy than it had been in a long time. But for me, when it was announced that Jordan Clark was man of the match, for me, there was only one person that was man of the match. It was Casey Palmer. But there's, I can't pick out any negatives because it was a tremendous performance all the way around. Could we have done better with their goal? Yes, but it came really late. There was a slight handball. JJ could have knocked it back to Keeley with his head. But again, he was up against Humphreys, who is, he's a big boy. So it's tough to win that physical battle, and you can't always bash people for making a slight mistake. I'm sure JJ will be beating himself up about that. But I think Bradford got it very wrong today. Why not play the 3 players that absolutely destroyed us at their place earlier this season? Okay, that's just my thought anyway. Really appreciate everyone being here for the, for a Saturday night, 9 p.m. because honestly, there's a lot that people could do rather than spending an evening with me. Before I go, though, I do want to... I can see people are saying, yes, I can see from Peter White. He says, I can see Jack's ideas are taking place. Brilliant attacking display. Can't pick out one player that was negative. I did like the look of our new Norwegian signing, Vandenberg. So the new Norwegian signing, he actually won't be ready for a little bit. That's Severe Sandal. Who we saw today was Vandenberg from Utrecht. And yes, he did look good. I have to say, when he came on, it was a case of he was trying to find his passing distance. A few passes went a bit long, or they just went a bit high. But you can see that sort of profile of player. I like that. He's a bigger boy, no more like, 5'5" schnips in the middle of the park. You can't just have small technical players. You've also got to have, taller beefcakes in there to mix it, because especially at this level, League One, whether we are preparing for it next year, we are having an assault on the playoffs with the hope of going up. You need that physicality. And today, and Casey Palmer really surprised me with this actually. Casey Palmer's physicality is actually tremendous. I kind of thought he was a very delicate technical player, but he was happy to slide in, but go in full-blooded to challenges, win the ball back. He was really throwing himself about, and he was also contributing in the final third as well. He really was key. Would I want to see an actual defensive midfielder next to him? Yes, but at the same time, it means dropping one of the wide men or sacrificing a second striker. You can't have, Clark and Richards up there together. But hey, as I said, it's horses for courses. So maybe one game we'll have Saville next to him to sit and let Casey Palmer do his thing. Or maybe another game we'll have Casey Palmer and 2 men up top. And we press press from the front. Maybe. I don't know. Fortunately, I'm not the one that has to make those decisions. All I care about is that the players go out there and turn out a performance like they did today for the rest of this season. If we go out and play like we did today for the rest of the season, I can guarantee we will make the playoffs. We might even make the top 2. Because, well, top 2 is a bit outlandish, but we will be a very strong team going into the playoffs if we play like we did today for the rest of the season. And the players should know that. The players need to do that week in, week out. Not just turn up when they want to. Not just turn up when it's just Kenilworth Road. That makes it 10 unbeaten at Kenilworth Road. But you also have to play away. So, players, make sure you do that. Keep playing. So, the program notes are very interesting. No idea if Gary Sweet writes these himself. Some interesting ones. So, on the transfer window, caring for those departing us temporarily or permanently, it's always important to us. A vital aim was to retain a player's talent value or even improve upon it. Hence why it was our preference to loan players out to either gain good experience. Talking about good experience, Ethan Archer scored a tremendous free kick today. Ruel Walters got an assist for Blackpool. But this paragraph just reads like a word salad, to be honest, because I'm not looking at the players that we're loaning out, like the Zach Nelsons, the Archers, and the Ruel Walters. I'm looking at the players that we've loaned out, whereby we are covering most of their wages. And in the case of Jerry Yates, we've got another 2 years probably of Jerry Yates, depending on if he signed a 3-year contract. Jacob Brown probably gone at the end of the season. We're not improving upon Jacob Brown's contract or value, essentially. I don't see it. Millie Ali probably got another season afterwards. I don't know. To improve their chances of either playing for us or increasing their value should we decide to move them on permanently. As I said, very word salady. Like it or not, AI-led data techniques are used greatly at the top end of the game as they are an amazing tool if used as evidence supporting function. Again, very word salady, just keep it simple. And are more adopted uniquely by us. Okay, I wouldn't boast about using AI, especially with our track record of signings, while recognizing that it can be... They can never be influential in final decision making. Computers aren't taking over the world yet. And then there was a cheeky little emoji wink. Like that. Considering our track record with the recruitment over the past 2 years, because I'd say our first absolutely shambolic window was the January window in the Premier League, I wouldn't be crowing about this because it's too early to actually determine whether these signings are going to be any good. And trying to say, oh yeah, well, we didn't do too much business because no one else did much business. I'm happy we didn't go big because essentially I wouldn't trust our track record. I wouldn't want to bring in another 5 to 7 players. I think the way we did it, loans, sensible. And they make sense as well. We need another forwards because Jerry Yates was terrible. And Naki Wells doesn't have the physicality for League One. Plus he's 35. So Devante Cole was the option. They can't all be hits. And that's absolutely fine. But, don't shit on my hot dog and tell me it's barbecue sauce, The proof is in the pudding. And to be honest, the pudding has been absolutely stale and disgusting tasting for the past 2 years. On Gideon Kajua, this is an interesting one because I don't know why Emilio Lawrence wasn't in the squad today, considering we have 5 loanees now because Gideon Kajua is a permanent. Emilio Lawrence should have potentially been on the bench because then we have 5 loanees. We can play 5 in a matchday squad. Gideon Kajua. Upon closure, we also took the earliest chance to trigger our option to transfer Gideon Kajua in on a permanent basis. Earliest option? They didn't announce him for 4 days after the window closed. This is from a football club that will, proudly announce immediately when the toilets are being refurbished. I don't get it. Surely the earliest chance to trigger the option would have been January 1st, right? But it makes no sense why they didn't announce it for ages. In all fairness, Gideon Kajur was tremendous today. Yet again, another tremendous performance. And here on atmosphere, I do kind of agree with what has been written by Gary and his ghostwriter. The atmosphere has been terrible, but ultimately it is a case, and it's acknowledged here. The players know it's a two-way process, and their performances help generate that atmosphere. The performance today was electric, and the fans reacted to it. If the players want the fans to be behind them and not on their back, try. That is all we've asked for the past 2 years. We want you to try. That is why the atmosphere was so good in the Premier League, because we could see you were trying. In the Championship, we could see you weren't trying. So it got hostile. Deal with it. That's absolutely fine. Right. I'll take some comments from the chat, and then I'll wrap this up, because we'll be back tomorrow for the fan phone in, where you can get involved, you can have a chat with us, call in through the Discord, and voice your thoughts on that game from yesterday and just generally what you think. Right, the Grim Reater. So pleased for JJ as well. He's been oh so good, getting really stuck in, driving forward with good vision. I completely agree. Philip Woodward, I think we know that the key to getting in the playoffs is sorting out the away form starting next week at Cardiff. I'll tell you what, if we play like we did today, I think we'll give Cardiff a good game. We'll be leaving Cardiff with at least a point, providing we play like we did today. Super Mickey Chow, if this is Wilshire ball, count me in. Yeah, genuinely, I've said it many times. Like, we were trying to play like 2010s Arsenal, and the only thing we were lacking was a Giroud. And I think in Devante Cole and potentially Elijah Adebayo, when he does come back towards the end of the season, we will have our Giroud. We have our Giroud. We have that big man that can hold up the ball and bring in the small, busy, industrious players in around him. Whereas Nahki Wells, as I said, he was just bouncing off the defenders. You need a physical presence. Jonathan Simpson, Palmer is everything Lamine Fanny might turn into being. Yeah, Palmer really is showing it. He's taking it. He is absolutely taking his chance, isn't he? Because his career has kind of stagnated a hole. He had to take a step back to take two forward. And you know what? If it's not with us, he'll get a move somewhere, because he's showing what he is doing. 4 Prem in a row. W stream, sir. What's your name, sir? I don't even know what that means. Yeah. Well, subscribe to the channel if you like what you're hearing. Highland Hatter, did you notice how few back passes there were today? Yeah, only when necessary. And that is a big part of it as well. Under Nathan Jones, we were always going forward. It was always a case. Can we progress the ball forward? And that is what fans want to see. They don't want to see sideways between the defenders. They want to see the ball going one way. Because essentially, if you have the ball in the opposition's half, your chances of scoring are infinitely higher. And also your chances of conceding are significantly reduced, aren't they? Because the ball's not in your half. Although with Huddersfield, they scored from their own half, didn't they? Yeah, the Grim Reader confirms that lowest level of back passes for months, just 50. Normally it's 50 by halftime. Absolutely correct. Greasy says, late to the stream, what do you make of Cole? Apologies if you've already covered it. Yeah, I will say I'm happy with Cole. I think he was exactly what we needed at that point. Jerry Yates wasn't ticking the boxes, was he? He was not. I genuinely think Devante Cole, he's obviously not, Elijah from that championship promotion season, but he's a physical figure that can hold his own against League One defenders who are more akin to rugby players. The defenders, he won't just bounce off defenders like Nahki Wells. And he was a willing runner as well. I would like to see him in a 2. He has himself admitted he is better in a 2. So let's see if that happens. But to be honest, right now, I feel he can be our Giroud if Wilshire is trying to play Wilshire ball, which is akin to Arsene Wenger ball. Right. Where do I think Luton are going to finish? Well, if we can carry on the way we played today, I reckon we can finish 5th. That is my bold claim for the season. But hey, we got to take this and shove it down Cardiff's throat next week. That's what we got to do. But everyone, remember, we have the fan phone in tomorrow, 9 p.m. Hit the bell if you want to be notified when we're going live. If you want to get involved and give us your opinion, it'll be me and Stevie, I think. So join us, have a chat. We want to hear from you. Everyone, take care. And most importantly, come on, you Hatters.